I guess there was so much different in ages. I can't really remember this particular group just sitting around very much.
Never been before.
I remember me and Yvonne and Clayton more than
Yeah.
I remember.
Right. Well,
I mean, I
don't
remember playing with Louise and Jenny.
I don't remember Louise being at home.
They were,
At all.
that's older.
Well, I
It's gone.
remember, I remember them.
Well, Louise was always around, but I don't remember her being at home as a child. I mean, because she was married by the time I was
Louise and
old enough to
Junior
start remembering
was
things.
a playing out one day, and
She's still
they said, "Come here, Doris, and we're going to show you something." She said, "I can tend to my business better by myself."
Well, I remember
She was just
well
little.
playing with,
I
Doris,
played with
don't
them.
you?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, I remember.
And when Yvonne or Clayton wanted to wake up, it just, oh, the baby's awake. One Louise and Jenny one had to go and stay with the baby.
Stop.
So you ought to slept more.
Yeah.
We'd be, it was, I remember it just tear us up. We'd be a playing one, have to go in there and watch the baby.
Louise the one that didn't sleep.
Now, it's terrible to be the youngest. See, they're tired of us time we get
The
around.
baby and the only boy.
Hey, every psychiatrist tell you that the middle child is the worst.
Oh.
Worst
one.
I ain't a word of that.
Oh.
The middle child. That's right.
Here, let's hear
When
about
Clayton was
this.
You're not the oldest and you're not the baby. You're just.
Clayton was a baby.
What about the
standing
second
alone.
oldest one and the second youngest one too? That's what I was.
We had a big old square box, and Clayton would pull out to that, and he.
Yeah, I remember him being in that.
Yeah, what in it?
A cricket, we got the part of it.
Working out
He did
his
a part
back.
of a cricket.
Shoot it all up to his work.
Now I can remember him just like a playpen. I said it was a huge
This big old
cardboard
baseboard
box.
box.
I don't know what had come in.
People back then didn't have no cradles or no baby beds or nothing else.
I can remember that. Louise.
They both did.
But I was still
Both had the
there.
mumps there.
Was that after you were married?
He had mumps after she's
But
married.
you stayed some at the house. I
Done
remember.
what?
I think I
Louise
had
had the
nobody
mumps
else
some.
had them.
I think so.
Some.
I was a teen.
When we were, and I was still there, but I think that the rest of y'all was gone.
One of the biggest questions we wanted to ask Daddy was when he first remembered seeing Mother. First time he ever remembered seeing Mother.
You hear about this thing?
Yeah, I'm seeing it, I guess.
Mom's schoolhouse.
Mom's schoolhouse, I guess.
How old were you then? How old
Oh,
was
I was
she?
about 12 years old.
Ooh, you
That's
picked her
right,
out
I
that
remember
early.
that. That's World War. I remember that.
And you
Don't
picked
tell them
her
what you
out
thought
then?
and why you.
Well, I didn't think much about it, just right it was.
Oh, no, they don't put something like that on there.
But she got looking better every time I seen her.
I told you not to.
I tried it one.
I was plump when I was all that way. Why he used to do that?
Rounds of biscuits.
Round as a biscuit. Well, when was the first time you asked her out for a date?
Well, now that was way on later, that was about.
That's something I don't remember.
Well, I remember the first time I ever carried you anywhere, very easy.
Was that when you come and Sam opened the door on you?
Yeah. I walked in and he said, "What are you doing here?"
Uncle Sammy, that sounded like.
Scared him to death.
What are you
I was
doing?
supposed to went out the door, but I went in there where there's all
He
that.
went to the wrong door.
I didn't know how.
You had two outside doors, huh?
Yeah.
One on each side end of the veranda?
I remember that.
One
One
in the
of
living
her
room
house
and the
is one
other
on
was
it.
the room.
Yeah, I remember that.
Went to her
Right,
sister.
one
There's
left.
on
They
the
had a party
door.
that night.
House
Yeah,
stood.
yeah, I remember.
Had two
One.
doors
I remember I
that way.
Party, what kind of parties did y'all have?
They had two back
Right.
doors.
We went over to
Remember
Ben's.
one went back in the kitchen.
Well, they
over
called it
that
a
one
little
way,
dance,
one back
I don't
over
know.
Right.
But
The
Uh,
water
dance.
stayed
So,
back
yeah,
there.
well,
Which one? Grandma and Grandpa Gill.
it's
Yeah.
not up up dance, but it's like square dancing.
Oh, the porch went over.
Way back.
Old time is where it
Then
is.
we would let people have singings in their homes, and then there was a string band. Leon would remember some of these.
Smallwood boy.
Smallwood Boys and Hardy Thomas. He was a fiddler like nobody's business. And they would call it entertainment. A house, people, neighbors would have one, sometimes another house. And we had singings. Nearly everybody had an organ.
On Saturday
And
night,
we'd meet
every
and
week.
sing.
So how did you go on these days? Did you walk or did you go?
Well, we walked most of the time then.
Had a
anyway.
buggy. Buggy and,
Would you have a light, a lantern, or what did you carry?
Oh, used their eyes.
bunches would go together. There'd be,
3 or
if
4
we went
couples.
at night, there'd be just bunches, you know, the young people that go. And anywhere after, I was dating, I guess, a couple of years, everybody had buggies. Go out, we'd go to singings, we'd go to Mount Tabor and go to different places where they'd have singing on Sunday afternoons.
Okay, now how many years did you date?
Friendship a lot back then.
At that time, I played the organ, and I could play any song. I would play for the evening singings at most. We had people believe that it seems unreal to me now. And after they built the church down there, I played for revivals. And I would sit on the old organ stool. There would be so many in the house. There wouldn't be, I'd get ready to be no place I could sit, and I'd have to sit on the organ stool. That seems unreasonable. And people then had to go in wagons and buggies. They'd come from Union Grove, sometimes from Maybell.
Friendship, a lot of people.
Friendship, we'd go to Friendship, singing.
How long did y'all date? How many years when you finally started dating, did you?
I guess it was.
4 years?
I was 17 and a half, and he was 20 and a half when we married.
Now, where did you get married?
And at my home,
At your house?
Mother cooked a good supper, and his brother M came. They had for witnesses. He came, and then my mother and daddy.
And then where did you live right after you first married? What house?
Rented a home for
Where was
Mr.
it?
Robert Dixon.
We stayed in the house with Paul and them for a while.
2 or 3 days. We already had that rented.
About a week.
And where was this house?
It was down close to church where.
No, where that, where the Dick Brand is, that old house. And where you turn,
Close to Union Chapel Church, you're saying?
out above Union Chapel Church.
Okay. So how many years did you live there?
Lived there 2
2
years.
years.
Then we moved to Mr. Noah, Ernest Stone's place. We lived there 5 years.
And that's where Louise and Jenny both were born?
No,
Louise was born at my home. I went back home for her to be
But I
born.
meant, where were you living?
Oh, yeah, we
You
were
lived
living
there.
there.
And then where was Jenny born?
Oh, she was born there at this house where we lived.
she was born there.
Where
And
you
the
live
rest
now?
Dixon, no,
Didn't you
it's
move
Dixon.
No, over.
Ernest
John
Stone.
Bush.
I was born.
Over about that big
Dixon.
chicken
And you were
house.
about,
Dixon
well, at
place.
Christmas time, we moved in the house of Mother and Dad because we had to vacate that home. Someone had it rented, and we moved and stayed with Mother and Dad until our house was finished.
So I was born in October and y'all moved to your present
In
home in
December.
December.
You almost were born in it.
You as old as our house is,
A little bit over.
a little bit older.
Well, you're in better shape.
I remember just as well,
After they got it fixed up.
we didn't have anything, but we'd walk up there and bring a piece of something other than, I remember me and Mother went up one day and we'd bought Louise a little, or maybe, Louise, because she was 2 years old, a little red rocking chair. We carried that by hand. And you were just a baby. I guess one of the other of us was carrying you, and sure we were.
First little
We
red,
might have left you with a babysitter.
first little red wagon we bought him, if Jenny started to pull Louise down the barn, it's pretty steep going down across there, and she lost control of it, right on, you know him little handle's got a
You
little
remember
cuff.
that, don't you?
And she had taken her fingernail off, that's the
She went
screen,
down and
never
hit the
bled.
barn.
Didn't even bleed.
I didn't know
No, she went right into the barn and taking it off, that's as clean, it didn't even,
Never bled.
no, it
Well,
just,
this little thing about like a sewing thread we had to clip. You remember that, don't you?
it's as clean as it be, just went right on into it.
And one day when Louise was fairly small, she went down to Mother's or something. She come back, said, I saw a snake down there. She said, well, how big it was? She said, well, it was about as big as the dirt on your fingernails.
They had spots on it that big,
Yeah,
didn't
had spots
Had
on it,
spots
like
on
the
it, big
dirt
as-
on your fingernails.
That's a pretty good expression, wasn't it?
Didn't keep my fingernails clean, did they?
Oh,
One day
they
then,
mud
he'd
pies
come
and
from
done.
work up in the field and Clayton and Yvonne was supposed to come down. They got in a fight. He heard them coming and screaming. So he hid down there behind the tree, and when the first one come along, he He abused them, Charlie
Right.
did.
Yeah.
The next to come along, he gave them a switch.
We both did, didn't we, Clay?
Or to put them in for
Clay was holding the
Charlie.
hose sideways and would not let me go by, and I was so scared he was gonna
Yeah, I
have
never heard the
He
like
held
on
the
it.
hose sideways so I couldn't get
Was he
by.
holding you and you couldn't come?
He had his hose
Yes.
sideways. so I
Oh, in
couldn't
that
get
trail in
It's
the woods.
something I remember.
Trail
You
down
tell
through the
him
woods.
something that you
Well, that's all
can't
right.
remember.
That's the worst thing you ever did, wasn't it, Clayton?
Only bad
Well, I
people.
said, I was,
Only bad
That's
things.
I was
it.
a
Two
baby and
times.
the only boy, so I was,
Did tell something on Doris.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Darce was the one that
I
the
never
cow
did
got
anything.
something over
What
his
did,
head.
you
Can't
don't know
believe
what
that
I sang,
now.
what a sweet person I am. What did I
Oh.
sing about Doris when I was rock?
Oh, yeah, when,
What you say now, I'm sure
when
it
Yvonne
sang
was
pretty
born,
I was rock Doris.
No, when she'd rock Darce, she called her sweet Shane.
yeah,
She'd sing.
she just barely
singing
could hold
pretty
her up
things.
and
Well, she's
Marge
just
would
4
scoot
years
on
old,
down. She'd
like-
sit in that little red rocker and she'd hold her.
She'd
She'd
just
sing pretty sing. She'd sing the pretty sing.
Just strip her down, her clothes, just strip her
I know.
her feet.
What she says now.
me and
See, there, middle
Yvonne.
child got
Carried
loved,
over.
I got petted, all that. Nobody ever rocked me.
But there was more distance
Probably
between
bigger than
me and
everybody
Jenny
else.
and me and Yvonne than there was the rest of you. It was 4 years either side of me.
Me and Yvonne run up on the berry tree down there, you know, between y'all's house and grandmother's, and we eat every one
Winter
of them.
huckleberry.
Eat every one of them off of the bush, and then that night, she got deathly sick. I think I managed, or we may have both got sick, but I think
Winter,
we eat
winter
every one of
berries,
them.
we eat every
we decided
one
we'd
of them.
eat every one of them. It was a pretty good sized tree. It had these
It
little
was
black
being
berries
loaded
on
with
it.
them, I
And
remember.
we ate every one of them.
We went
eat
there
every one of
up all night.
Yeah.
Can you remember the first mule that you ever owned?
Yeah, I remember the first mule I ever owned.
How did you acquire it?
Well, my daddy gave it to me.
When we married.
What was the name of the mule?
Minnie.
Minnie.
She's the one carried us on all those dates.
Yeah, she carried us through there.
Back then, it was customary to give the man a mule, and they gave me a
Cow.
cow. Absolutely,
They give you a cow?
sure did.
The cow died. The cow died.
Not for a long time.
I guess that was one of those things, if you had a mule and a cow,
Well, yeah,
Little
they could just set you
a
up.
cooking pan and a,
They gave me an iron bed, and I still got it, and they gave me a trunk. There, all I can find over them old antiques on these days.
iron bed and a trunk and a mule and a cow, that's about what you needed.
Yeah, Louis said, what about now, since we're all here together, we
Yeah,
can fight
well,
over it now.
Which one
Have
you
you a
want,
good time to
Clay?
fight over it?
One of you have the old bed, and the other the trunk.
The rest of us will be there.
Well, it's 69 years old, that iron bed is too, 69 years old. This,
Was it new? Did they
yeah,
buy
brand
it?
new,
Oh,
and
they
the
bought
front
it
was
new.
brand
Back
new.
there in that y'all got set up back there.
I think it was just something they had.
You ain't still got it.
In the little room.
The trunk?
No,
That bed,
the
that back
bed,
there,
the
that
In the
bed.
room.
Well,
It
Daddy,
wasn't one she already had, she went and bought you a new one.
Oh, yes, that's new.
Louis just wanted
let Daddy tell me about when you went to get the machine there about
Well,
that trip.
we
Show him
ordered,
that sewing machine, Hubert.
we ordered that from Montgomery Ward,
In the spring.
and when it come back, the high waters was up. You couldn't go across the street here to Gunnersville. And they had to go around what we call Diamond, way up Brown's Valley, and then go back down, Spring Valley to
What was you
Gunnersville.
driving?
Model T Ford.
That was the year after you were born.
And
If you mind to tell them how old you are, then they'll know
I
how.
coming back down that valley, I seen an old truck coming, and back then they had let the side, the old flatbed truck, they'd let the gates go back, open back, just sweep out, you know. It's most height, and he's coming, and the road was just, then was narrow, and just rounded up through the valley there pretty well. And I didn't know what to do, I couldn't get off, and hardly I got out and waved at him, I pulled that old truck off, just had it hanging off. Finally, he come by, and he just barely did swipe me. I didn't know what to do. But that was the only change, and of course I brought that old machine on and
You
on.
had to go to Gunnersville to the, what do they call it,
Depot.
depot.
Railway
That
depot,
was
I
a
imagine,
depot,
no
yeah.
railway depot.
I guess you sewn many a dress on that.
I mean, I did for 4 girls and myself.
She always told me she wanted a machine so she'd make dresses for her girls, she wanted to sew for them. And so she got a mate every time.
No,
She had-
I always
You
enjoyed,
had to, didn't you?
had to such a thing as buying ready-made was not heard of then. And everybody in the community lived more or less like we were living.
And you can't find
Didn't
anything.
have nothing.
Jessica's little dress was so pretty the other night, but you just don't see that in the pretty ones.
What about
Chase
you?
it, and I couldn't run. Oh, sure they did. That's why I
One
reckoned.
time that
came
old,
up
he
the
had
road
a
just to
hard
turn
horse
over.
at one
Oh,
time.
just running, right, and that would scare me to
He
death.
had a horse at one time and it was hitched to a sled, and it got loose and it run down to mother's house.
Went
And Jim
around
was
the
down
house.
there and started home, and she got up on the bank, that thing turned, come right on back behind her. You don't remember that?
Kind of,
And that old sled was just bouncing up
Slaying.
down.
kind of
Fine.
remember that.
I reckon he went out and
Well,
caught
that
it.
was strictly my worst
Oh,
nightmare
it
as a
wrapped
house
it.
child.
It
was
wrapped
like,
that
oh,
one
one
foot,
way.
so it just had its nose tied right
Me
down
dog,
to its
man.
head.
I remember one time that you and Yvonne and I were down there in the pasture, and somebody was John Walker, somebody's from wasn't our own, got out and tried to climb in that pasture.
Yeah.
They could see Daddy's in there. We was playing over there. I just go right now, right where it was, the little old hill there, where there's 2 or 3 cedar trees there. And we had to try to find trees to climb up in. We were scared. Those things were rearing up. They were doing their best to tear in there.
When we
Cause
was
they
just
just go crazy when they got out. They
young
didn't act
girls there at
decent.
home, me and Grace Hill, and Lucy and Estelle Ballou. The water then ran from where Clayton lives now to that pasture down. It was just as clear as crystal. We
Well,
went
when I
down
was
there
a kid,
one
we waded
Sunday
in the
evening was a playing. There's a big old log went across there, and Grace was always clumsy, and she was going. She had on a white midi blouse. All I remember what that was, white as snow. But that water was just running as clear. But she went to walk across that log into that mud. She went. We just went down the creek and stripped her off. Washed that out pretty and dry and hung it on bushes. It dried. Our parents never did know it.
Tell them what they said when they saw you and Daddy for the first time, he walked you home. Was that
Was that what-
Ellie and Grace, they were jealous that you had a boyfriend and they didn't?
I don't remember about that, hon.
Well, I remember hearing you tell it through the years that they said.
She said Grace and Eddie could have boyfriends, but
If they-
they were such
Such
ass.
Yeah, I remember
Such
that.
as they were.
Such as they were.
Such
Such
ass.
as they
You
were.
weren't with them, I think, and grandmother
She was
wanted to know
throwing
who
that
they
at
were.
me and him.
Said
She
they could
was
have
later.
boyfriends such as
Such
they were.
ass.
I think they said, she asked, where is Desi? And they said, oh, she's got a boyfriend, something we never have, but we could have.
Such as
They
they are.
were such ass.
I
Such
wanted
as
to
they-
tell one more, thing about the horses. I guess a horse, Daddy, when we had the little slides, you call them, just
That's
slid
what I was
on.
talking about.
And, you know, the front end next to the horse had the thing.
The riser.
The
Riser,
riser.
yeah.
And me and Jenny were sitting back with their backs
Gonna let 'em
against the
ride.
riser with their backs next
Toward
to
the
the
horse.
horse,
Mhm.
toward the horse.
Next to the
And we
mule.
came down a pretty steep little
Yeah.
hill, terrace, and the thing
There
flipped
you go.
up. We flipped down the
Right
thing,
in that
right in the
heel.
horse.
I
right in
mean,
the heel.
cupped them into the mule's heels.
Through their heads, right?
They threw them right in against their heels.
Well, how did you get us out? You
That's
had,
my turn, pulled jar.
We haven't hit automatic to stop. Didn't it?
Yeah.
The horse
Oh,
just
yeah,
stopped.
the mule automatic stopped was old Minnie.
If it hadn't,
She used to give out almost, I guess. I was gonna let them ride down something in the old slide. And I let them sit, lean back up against the dashboard.
Worst thing I remember is
Started
we
on
were-
a steep place there, Clayton, coming out over up the hill, that tires went turned over right
The
there.
time we were having to shuck corn down there, and there's a little calf in the lot down there, and that mule got out and was it catch it by its neck and just shake it. And we yelled and screamed and finally Daddy heard us, came down there and stopped. It would have killed it. Oh, they are mean. Mules are. I remember it because we was kids and it horrified us. It was just chewing that little calf. It was catching in its teeth and just shake its neck swell.
who was it?
I don't know which one it
What you
was.
mean?
No, it wasn't. 'Cause I don't remember.
Old Jim.
That you call old pet, I think. That old pet you got from Grandpa Clemons when he died.
Old Jim one
It
does.
was biting.
Can
Old
you-
Pet's one come here killing you.
Right, old pet's the one that
Can-
kicked at me, but if she'd hit me, she'd have killed me, no doubt.
Can you remember all your mules and horses' names?
Yeah, I never had many.
I don't-
Minnie,
He just had to flatten himself
Pat.
against the wall.
and Jim,
George.
and George.
Well, tell them how we had Pat.
Grandpa
How come
Clemons
it's
died.
Well, I inherited it.
I remember
My
that.
daddy died.
Yeah.
He gave him.
She sure
What
got-
year did Granddaddy Clemons
She
die?
would've killed me if she could. That old pet.
1943.
43, I've got a quilt.
She kicked at me, buddy.
3 years old.
June
See, that's
the
why I
4th.
don't remember him. I saw him.
June the 4th,
How
1943.
are you getting what?
You ought to.
You're
I was
getting
5
what
years
Doris
old, Daddy.
did
I
about
remember
the
seeing him
horse.
one time that I
Amelia
can
kicking.
remember.
Yeah, he's already gotten
Oh,
it.
You
already
don't remember
got
Granddaddy
that.
Clemons at all.
Probably has.
Paul come up there to see us one time.
I remember he
Clayton was
brought
just
me
a
a-
baby, and he had
One
an
of
old,
those
had an
tobacco
old black
cans.
hat. And he always let Clayton play with it. He always wanted to play his old black hat. He had a little hole in it. He's all sat there and looked, and Clayton hooked his fingers in there, just tore that.
Ripped the crown out.